The Essential Education projector range from Hitachi sponsors ICT programs.
Hello and welcome to a Resource Review ICT special. Are you looking for secondary RE resources that will really engage your students? Well, today we're looking at 3 that you might want to consider. They are a CD-ROM about marriage, a website that celebrates cultural diversity, and a website of basic facts on the world's religions. Recommending today's resources, we have education consultant Paul Hopkins, who specialises in the interface between ICT and RE. On the panel today is Naila Khan, RE teacher at Capital City Academy in northwest London. And on the panel is Alan Mills from the Specialist Schools and Academies Trust. And our resident ICT investigator Matthew Tosh will be giving us an expert's opinion on today's resources. So, Paul, your first choice of resource is an interactive CD-ROM. It's called Exploring Marriage with Newsdesk. Tell us why you like it.
What is exciting about this package is not so much just the content about marriage, but the engine that drives it underneath the Newsdesk. Research has shown that many young people explore the world much better in visual terms than they do in textual terms. And what this programme allows students to do is to look at the ideas behind marriage, and particularly Christian marriage, using the presentation of a news package, putting together their own 3-minute news presentation. OK,
so what do you actually get in this resource?
You get video clips and audio clips and sort of mock interviews with people that are set up for you as resources that you put together yourself into a little package to make your own news presentation.
OK, well, thank you very much. Over now to Matthew Tosh, who's been exploring marriage with Newsdesk.
Have you ever fancied putting together a news story? Well, with the Exploring Marriage CD-ROM, you can do just that. The programme's based in a virtual news studio, and you have 3 computers on your desk. The central one is your desktop computer, and this is where you can receive video conferencing calls and your emails. Well, I'm going to have a look at my email now because it's flashing. I've got a new message. In your first email, there's a link to a video message.
Hi, I hope you're finding your way round okay. It's no problem.
It makes it really authentic and gives you a real feel of what it's like to put together a news story. Oh look, new emails have just come in. My first interviews are ready. Well, before I do that, I need to do a bit of research on the marriage topic. To do your research, you go to the right-hand computer to go into the research library. This is where you have access to stills, video footage, and the all-important facts and figures on marriage. You can preview your video clips.
Having that thing that's us. I love that us thing. That is precious.
And once you're happy with your clip, you can click in the box, just put a little cross, and these are the clips you're going to use in the editing suite. You can do the same for your stills. Well, I've done my research, so I can now start asking my interviewees some questions. So I'll have a look at Mandy and Phil.
Hi, I'm Phil.
I'm Mandy.
We've been married 5 years, going on 6, and we're ready when you are.
Now, in the left-hand panel, you've got all the different questions that you can ask. So I'm just going to ask a fairly straightforward one, just to show you what happens.
Because we loved each other.
Now, in the same way that you selected your video clips to show in the final edit, you can select your questions here. So I'm just going to select that one there. And to build up a 3-minute news story actually takes a long time. You can't rush through the programme. It's just like that in real life. So I'm just going to show you what the editing suite does look like, and it's the left-hand computer this time. You can see the clips that are building up in your clip collection, and once you've found something that you want to drop in, you just click on the insert button and it appears on your storyline. There's a voiceover facility, so you'll need to have an audio input on your computer. It's a really creative way of putting together a news story, and it's certainly got me in reporting mode. This is Matthew Tosh for Resource Review in the ICT Lab.
Well, Paul, this looks like a great resource, but it's actually aimed at post-16-year-olds. So how does it fit into Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4?
14, 15, 16-year-olds now are so versatile with technology, using their own digital video or their own phones, which have all sorts of things built in, that using this sort of pack I don't think is a problem. When you come into the very sort of friendly environment of the Newsdesk, this idea of creating your own video is lovely. And these are the sort of resources that children are going to put together. Now, what it then lays on top of this, of course, is the RE topic about marriage.
Ah, well, yes, RE is really the aim of this resource, but it's sort of dressed up in sort of quite a fun game. Is that going to distract the students?
I don't think so, because the content itself is very focused and very well resourced, both in terms of the interviews, the data that's presented, and the audio clips.
Nyla, you've actually tried this resource with your pupils in the classroom. How did it go down?
It went down really well. I actually used it as a revision topic because we've actually studied marriage already. And at the end, I actually did ask them, you know, if we'd started with this, would it have worked better? And a lot of the pupils said yes. You spoke about distraction, but I think it's how you actually sort of use the whole package, meaning what we were going to go on to do was put the kids into groups of 3. So the smaller numbers, their own computer, I actually don't think it will distract them. I think they will come up with something really good.
Alan, what do you think of this resource?
I thought it was fantastic as well. It uses the technology that children already are familiar with. And RE has always suffered from the problem of it's not seen as on the ball, it's somewhere different. This is using it really well. I mean, it's really using the movie maker machine, but it's providing the resources to prevent the child wasting time looking for those resources, and I think it could be directed very well.
Well, a great review for our first resource. Now let's move on to Paul's second choice of resource. And Paul, this is a website from Christian Aid called Global Gang. Tell us about it.
What I really like about Global Gang is it brings up this idea of fair trade and justice in the world. Now, there are many things I like about this, particularly simulations, the games you can play that lead you into questions about fair trade. And simulations are often very hard to find for RE as part of the ICT strategy. But let me show you one thing that I particularly like in the real life section, which is this idea of authentic voice. How do you actually get people talking about their own experiences? Religion's often seen as something that your granny does or that dead people have done, whereas actually religion is something that young people do all the time all over the world.
All right, well, let's go back to Matthew for his exploration of Global Gang.
The Global Gang website features real stories from real people of different faiths all over the world. You can see here I've got the home page up, and clicking on the What's New section gives you a flavour of some of the things available. The pages are split up into short paragraphs about different stories, and there are links to the full page articles. And one thing I really like is as you scroll down, there are pictures of real people, so it brings it to life for children. Now I want to have a look at the real life section on the website, because in here you'll find the faith file. It's got a variety of topics in there, from Easter, forbidden foods, prayers, animals and dancing. So we'll have a look at the forbidden foods to see how they fit in with different faiths. The Buddhism one here, the Karma Kitchen, tells you about the 5 forbidden spices. There's a link here to a map to show you where Cambodia is, and a lot of the articles on the website feature pages from different parts of the world. So there are maps here to help children identify what part of the world you're looking at. There's also the Rooted section here, and this features a kind of video diary or written diary of different people from different faiths all over the world again. The Global Gossip section is really where children start to contribute directly to the website. There's a jokes section where children can email their jokes in, although I should issue a health warning because some of the jokes are quite cheesy. And the post box features real comments from children. Children aren't afraid to speak out on this website or find out about other faiths. It's really quite refreshing. There is a good teacher section as well, and this has curriculum links and some lesson ideas to go with the website. That concludes my look at the Global Gang website, and now back to Hermione.
Well, Nyla, we've seen a lot of what's on this website, but how did it go down in the classroom?
It went down really well, but I used it in a completely different way. Because we were looking at charities, Key Stage 4 again, comparing Christian Aid with Muslim Aid, and looking at should religious charities and do religious charities just work for their own religions. So this was quite a good resource. We looked at what they actually do and how they help, and we came onto this site. And it was quite funny, really, because just from the name, a lot of the pupils can't actually tell whether a child is Christian or a community is Christian or not. But being from Indian background myself, I knew that Savita and that village is a sort of a Hindu-based village. And we looked at how Christian Aid actually helps that village and sort of opened it up to saying, you know, should religious charities help all religions, or should they actually just sort of help Christians or Muslims?
So going back then to really the content of the resource, did you find it quite flexible then? I mean, when you initially looked at it, is that the way to use it that sprung out, or can you see other ways?
There are other ways, but I think more on a cross-curricular level.
This cross-curricular issue, Paul, I mean, I had a look at it and I thought perhaps it's more geography or citizenship. I mean, it could be used right across the board.
Absolutely, I've no problem with that at all. I think the more that children learn that there aren't packets of subjects, the subjects talk to each other and intermix is fantastic. I think the way Nyla's used it in terms of Key Stage 4 is brilliant, because I had it more pitched at younger children. So well done, Nyla.
Great. Well, Alan, going back then to secondary RE though, do you think this is a good resource?
There's interesting things about this programme and things that slightly concern me. I mean, look at this particular page that Nyla's brought up. It's great that Rwanda is selling bunnies and Nicaragua they're working and playing. It's interesting the comparisons you can make between the different effects and opportunities in different countries. I think that's good because it does show, you know, a cross-curricular approach and a sort of approach from different groupings. The thing that worried me a bit about it was if it was higher than Key Stage 3, is there certainly a slightly childish look to it, which can work very well, but I think if you're asking a child to do this on their own, it's a bit too up and atom, cartoonish. The resources are great, but the actual interface is not perfect.
Yeah. I won't want to disagree with that, as I started off by saying I think Year 7, Year 8 is perhaps where I'd pitch this to start with. But it shows that with a good teacher using this flexibly, you can use this across the curriculum.
OK, and it's free, which is always good.
It's always good.
All right, well now let's move on to Paul's third choice of resource. Paul, this is another free website. Tell us about it.
OK, Hermione, when I was a young teacher, I was asked by a student, what's wicker? All I knew about was garden furniture or Alan Wicker. So I wish I'd had something like religion facts at that point to refer to, because as you can see, here is everything from Aladrua to Zoroastrianism, this huge resource on the web. And what's important about this, it gives an authentic, well-researched, well-documented set of facts about not just all the world's religions, but certainly a good chunk of them. At the risk of a pun, it's a godsend.
Great stuff. How much information do you get on each of them?
Oh, there's vast amounts. Let's take something which perhaps people are very weak about in the classroom, which is Buddhism, which many teachers feel very insecure about. So if we had a look at Buddhism, you can see straight away there's this vast variety of resource. But there's an overview, there are facts on Buddhism, so there's a sort of synopsis. Then there's stuff on deities and sects and practices, more than you could ever want for any GCSE Buddhist syllabus that I've seen.
Fantastic. Nyla, is this more of a teacher resource or a pupil resource?
I think it's more of a teacher resource, but I would use it for pupils who are doing sort of world religion projects, and so they can actually sort of tap into it and tap out, but I wouldn't actually sort of devote a whole lesson to it. I'd make them sort of dip in and dip out, because I think they could get quite lost and sort of not stay focused.
Yes, I mean, this is a vast resource, Alan, we've said that.
It is fantastic. I mean, there are terms, there are titles in the very first page, which I've certainly never come across before. Some of the illustrations are truly tremendous, and we've seen illustrations sometimes in published documents that aren't that good, and we're paying a lot of money for. You've got access to these to use. Now, if you were following on from the issue of making your own movie, making your own news file, there are images here which are truly not only useful but beautiful. I mean, the example in the Buddhism section, some of those pictures are the best images I think I've ever seen on one of these sites.
Well, I'm sorry to say that's all we've got time for today, but just to recap, the 3 resources that Paul recommended were Exploring Marriage with Newsdesk from Damaris, Global Gang from Christian Aid, and Religion Facts from Religion Facts. For more information on today's resources, go to our website. It's teachers.tv/resource review, or email us resourcereview@teachers.tv. A big thank you to our panel, to Paul, to Nyla, and to Alan. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.
Essential education projectors from Hitachi sponsor ICT programs.